Hello, hello, and welcome to Fighting Fantasy Classics. This was an old school pen and paper, digital version of pen and paper gaming, basically. Oh yeah, perfect, here. Oh, I guess I should narrate. The year was 1982. And the UK, like every year during the 80s, was filled with the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. The Young Ones and Knight Rider hit TV screens for the first time. Prince William was born, and the Falklands War began and ended. Really? Come On Eileen was the biggest selling single of the year, and Heely boppers and leg warmers were the latest fashion craze. Kind of still are. But most significantly for thousands of preteens, August 1982 saw the publication of a brand new type of book, one in which you were the hero. Part novel, part role-playing game, The Warlock of Firetop Mountain was the first title in the Fighting Fantasy game book series. The authors, Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone, were not new to the gaming world. They first met at Altrincham Grammar School in 1967, and 7 years later shared a flat in London. Oh wow. Crazy. Okay, wow, that's a small time frame. Oh, snap, there they are. First big break came when a copy of Dungeons and Dragons, a unique role-playing game, was sent to them by its creator, Gary Gygax, for review in their fanzine Owl and Weasel. Steve and Ian were convinced they discovered a gaming revolution and set about securing an exclusive 3-year European distribution agreement from TSR Hobbies, publishers of D&D. This was soon followed by various deals to distribute other fledgling role-player games. John wasn't keen on this change of direction to fantasy gaming and left Games Workshop mid-1975. Ian and Steve remained convinced that fantasy role-playing and interactive entertainment was the future and went full-time. In 1977, they began publishing White Dwarf magazine, and in 1978... Oh, you can click this? Oh. Which one's Steve and which one's Ian? That hair, man. I don't like it anymore. Oh. In 1978, the first Games Workshop retail outlet in Hammersmith, London, as well as manufacturing Citadel miniatures. 1980, Games Workshop held its annual Games Day exhibition. At the Royal Horticultural Law Halls in London. The publisher Penguin Books had taken a stand to promote a new book called Playing Politics. Steve and Ian got talking to the book's editor, Geraldine Cook. She became interested in the idea of a how-to-do-it book on the whole fantasy role-playing craze. The meeting ended with them being invited to send in a synopsis. Steve and Ian began to discuss exactly what the book would contain, but they soon went off the idea of a technical manual, and their approach began to change. What if you could actually play this book yourself, just as if you were taking part in a solo role-playing game? Under the provisional title The Magic Quest, the two of them began to think about how exactly the book would work. Key to the concept was the ability for the reader to make choices which would lead to a branching of the narrative at various points in the adventure. The problem here was to present choices in such a way that the reader would never really know how far into the adventure they were or what was coming next. This problem was solved by breaking up the text into numbered paragraphs and then jumbling them up. For example, the choice of going east or west at the end of paragraph 1 would mean turning to either paragraph 71 or 278. The manuscript would actually be written sequentially. Each paragraph would be set on a separate page and mixed up later once the adventure was written, playtested, and balanced. Rather like writing a computer program flowchart, Steve and Ian had to keep a careful record of all the monsters, items, objects, coins, spells, potions, armors, weapons, clues, etc. that could be found during the quest to make sure that it was A, it was actually possible to get through the adventure, and B, it was possible to adjust the balance of the adventure to make it easier or harder where required. You know what's funny about that concept? They're explaining this as if it was mandatory, right? Like writing a computer program flowchart, they had to keep a careful record to make sure that it was possible to get through the adventure and possible to adjust the balance. They don't do that with games anymore. Especially with the whole AI craze, nobody's checking to see if you can actually do anything. Games come out and have an update day one because something was too hard. By early 1981, a draft of the first gamebook style story was finished, and Steve and Ian sent it out eagerly to Geraldine at Penguin for her opinion. Her first question was whether it was a book for adults or for children. Steve and Ian felt it was for both, but this was in the days before the now ubiquitous crossover book, and Penguin would have to decide whether to publish it on their adult list or go through their children's imprint, Puffin Books. Oh. Yeah, I guess things were... Oh, yeah. The deciding factor proved to be the Puffin Book Club, which ran through schools across the country. Tony Lacey, head of Puffin at the time, felt sure that the sales potential of the Magic Quest would be much higher if aimed at 9 to 12-year-olds instead of older people who have a job and don't have time to be playing with silly little games. Even though I know more than a few adults who have no problem playing silly little games, including a silly little... It's not even D&D. The guy plays like... It's wrestling D&D. Perhaps surprisingly, Penguin actually sat on the book's proposal for over 6 months before making a formal offer. During this time, Steve and Ian's frustrations grew. At one point, Steve even sent a synopsis to Allen and Unwin, publishers of The Lord of the Rings. Oh, but they politely declined to take the project any further. When the book was finally commissioned by Penguin, the two authors had only 6 months to complete the text, at a time when Games Workshop was continuing to take more and more of their time. In 1981, they finally began work on the first title in the series that was to change their lives forever. Still more? Oh yeah, wow. To save time, Steve and Ian agreed to write half of the adventure each. The midpoint where the two halves were joined was planned to be a single crossing over a river. Ian wrote the adventure up to this point, and Steve thereafter. The basic premise of the book was a dungeon-based treasure hunt quest set deep inside the cavernous Firetop Mountain, home to the powerful warlock Zagor. Dagger? The title was changed from the Anodyne, the Magic Quest, Anodyne, the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, a title more in keeping with the established fantasy of the Lord of the Rings and Dungeons and Dragons, prompted by Puffin for something that helped explain the book further and to allow for related future books if needed. Wow. So Puffin themselves were like, guys, this could probably be a series. You want to like give it an overarching title? Ingenious series named Fighting Fantasy. Yeah. Well, like, I wonder if this would have been before Final Fantasy. Jeez. Something that promised readers combat in a world of monsters and magic. Yup. The world was never the same. Steve and Ian thought the job was done once they delivered the complete manuscript. They were sadly wrong. The book's editor, Philippa Dickinson, diplomatically pointed out various inconsistencies in the two halves of the adventure, including their separately drafted rules. The two authors had agreed on three basic attributes of the adventure, reflecting their fighting ability, constitution, and fitness, and how naturally lucky they were, but had labeled them differently. Steve's skill, stamina, and luck versus Ian's combat factor, strength factor, and luck factor. Skill, stamina, luck. I mean, he's still got his luck, whatever. And there were differences in how these were to be determined. The adventure sheet, where the hero's details and possessions were recorded, went through various drafts too before Ian hit upon the final layout that was to be used, including the use of monster encounter boxes. Another problem had been solved. The combat system was going to be critical to Fighting Fantasy's success. This was what was going to make the book a role-playing game rather than just a narrative-only, choose-your-own adventure. Again, two slightly different versions were offered, and again, Philippa had strong views on these. Steve had both the player and monster striking together, always using 2 dice. Ian had them taking it in turns, with some combats involving 3 dice. Steve sometimes stipulated the number of rounds that must be fought, Ian didn't. The final system was an inspired design, elegance itself. It proved to be one of the many things that would set Fighting Fantasy apart from the various clone series that were to appear later. Artwork, for both the cover and the internal illustrations, was another area in which Fighting Fantasy set the standard. Steve and Ian's experience at Games Workshop made them convinced that these had to be darkly gothic rather than the soft, tame illustrations which were the norm for children's fantasy adventures at this time. They convinced Puffin to use the same artists they had used for White Dwarf, and the rich graphic detail to be found in the work of artists like Ian McCaig, Martin McKenna, Jim Burns, and John Blanche. It became the hallmark of Fighting Fantasy, giving it its uniquely powerful visual appeal. Meanwhile, Philippa made some crucial observations on the text. For example, choices were presented in various ways when the format should be consistent. There was a werewolf and a wolfman, which was confusing, so one had to go. Until now, when you have a werewolf and a wolfman and every other kind of wolf-man hybrid. And the first draft included a song that was copyright protected. Wow. But most serious of all was the obvious change in writing styles at the halfway point. In the days of typewritten text, this just couldn't be changed easily, so Steve volunteered to rewrite even Ian's half of the adventure, having drafted the original outline and sample for the book. The second draft sorted all these hiccups out, and the book was scheduled for publication in 1982 of August. Puffin was initially cautious about sales, and for the first few weeks this seemed justified, but fueled by articles run in Games Workshop's White Dwarf magazine and with exposure in schools through the Puffin Book Club, word quickly spread. By the end of the year, the book had been reprinted 5 times. Puffin realized they needed new titles, and fast. Steve immediately began writing Citadel of Chaos and Ian Forest of Doom. Any difference in writing styles would no longer be an issue if the two authors penned their own books. In March 1983, the 3 titles were topping the Sunday Times bestseller charts. The Fighting Fantasy phenomenon had well and truly arrived. With success inevitably came the critics. An outspoken member of the Evangelical Alliance described the books as a work of Satan and demanded that they be banned. Blah, 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 blah. Dear devil. Blah, blah, blah. How is it? How? Whatever. Frequently asked by the media whether stories of swords, sorcery, and demons were suitable for a children's publisher like Puffin, editorial director Liz Attenborough did a valiant job of defending the honor of fighting fantasy. Oh, wow. This was in the days before Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials, Harry Potter, and Darren Shan. What does that mean? But for every critic, there was also a supporter. Teachers, for example, reported how the books had been extremely successful in getting teenage boys to read, particularly those classified as reluctant readers. I need to look up. Whatever this is. Alright. With the sixth title, Death Trap Dungeon 1984, selling over 300,000 copies in the UK alone, in less than a year, the series continued to grow pace and other writers were drafted to keep up with the demand for 6 game books a year. Among these recruits was Mark Gascoigne, Fighting Fantasy's most prolific talent and subsequent series editor. Fighting Fantasy began to expand beyond its original format into novels, magazines, board games, manuals, and even computer games. There seemed no end to people's appetites. In late 1983, Penguin published the first book in Steve's epic sorcery series, The Shamutanti Hills. Spanning 4 books, this series added a unique spellcasting system and allowed for an extended adventuring campaign. The reader could choose to play a warrior or wizard, with their character able to develop through each book and continue to the next. By the end of the 1980s, there were 40 fighting fantasy titles, and production began to slow. It was due to stop with the 50th title, Return to Firetop Mountain, written by Ian. But sales were boosted by this revisit to the location of the very first book, and Puffin published a further 9 titles. When the last and 59th book, Curse of the Mummy, was published in 1995, had 6 books a year, 69, so that was 10 years. The series had sold over 15 million copies worldwide and was published in over 20 languages. They always do that. How many it sold and how many languages it was published? During the 1980s, Fighting Fantasy was probably responsible for bringing more people into the world of fantasy gaming than any other vehicle and had made household names of Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson around the world. So what languages would it even be, right? English, Spanish, Italian, Polish, the European Spain, maybe? I mean, that's only 5. And Afrikaans, maybe? Cyrillic, the Russian. I don't know. I'm only gonna get like half. 2001, Icon Books was keen to enter the children's book market. Its publishing manager, Simon Flynn, had been a huge fan of Fighting Fantasy and felt that children of the new millennium would lap up the books if only they knew they existed. It was the perfect series with which to launch their new children's imprint, Wizard Books. After much hunting, he managed to track down Steve's email address, and a deal was struck with Steve and Ian at Joe Allen's restaurant in Covent Garden, London. Always the Gamers, the final advance for each book was decided by a game of spoof. Always the Gamers, the final advance for each book. Here's your advance money. What is spoof? Oh, interesting. Be fun. I have to look into that, okay. They won, so they decided their advance. That's cool. So in June 2002, Wizard Books began republishing the series in a fresh, if different order, with the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, Citadel of Chaos, Death Trap Dungeon, and Creature of Havoc as the first 4 titles. Dave Holt, a long-term fan, was asked to set up the series' official website, www.fightingfantasy.com, and the site's fan club, the Adventurers Guild. 2003 and 2004 saw a TV advertising campaign, and the series had once again become firmly established in the hearts and minds of children. In 2005, the first brand new book for 10 years was published. Written by Ian, Eye of the Dragon played on the strengths of the original series. The 60th book Puffin had originally commissioned over 12 years earlier, Bloodbones, and which enjoyed an almost mythical status within the original series community, was finally published in 2006. The 60th book Puffin had originally commissioned over 12 years earlier, Bloodbones, and which enjoyed an almost mythical status within the original series community, was finally published. It was written by fighting fantasy stalwart John Green, who went on to write 3 more titles in the series: Howl of the Werewolf, Stormslayer, and Night of the Necromancer. August 2012 saw the publication of Blood of the Zombies, written by Ian to mark the 30th anniversary of the Warlock of Firetop Mountain. Having worked for 20 years in the video games industry, Ian was aware of the everlasting appeal of zombie slaying. He was also aware of the need to create a very challenging quest with fast-paced combat action. He succeeded, with Puff scoring Eurogamer giving it 9 out of 10 in their review, saying it's surprisingly swift and exciting with the hectic minute-to-minute battling and health management beats of Left 4 Dead and a real sense of the old-school RPG. Now in the digital age, Fighting Fantasy comes to smartphones and tablets thanks to Tin Man Games, so Fighting Fantasy is still very much alive and kicking over 30 years on. May its stamina never fail. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I only have one. That's crazy. They wouldn't give you... They wouldn't give you the original, huh? Bloodbones, wow. Okay. I have to install it. Right. Sure. Okay, maybe we'll check the rules while this goes. I don't know. I got it. Let's go! Bloodbones is a fighting fantasy game book, an interactive adventure in which you are the hero. You can win only by choosing the correct path, finding equipment, avoiding traps, and surviving combat. Before embarking on your adventure, you must first determine your own strengths and weaknesses with a series of dice rolls. These attributes are recorded on your adventure sheet. It includes stamina, skill, luck, and your starting gold pieces. For making your rolls, you must choose from one of 3 difficulty settings. This gamebook has been designed for optimum challenge on the Adventurer difficulty mode. For newcomers to Fighting Fantasy, we recommend Adventurer or Free Read modes. For experienced readers already familiar with printed versions of this gamebook, we recommend Hardcore Hero Mode. Play Bloodbones as it was intended. Your starting stamina and gold pieces are calculated by rolling. Oh. I can't go back now. There it is. Adventure. Play Bloodbones as it was intended. Both your luck and skill scores are calculated by rolling 1d6, but you're also given unlimited bookmarks, which act like placing your fingers between pages. If you've beaten Bloodbones in adventure mode or have read the printed form of this book before, test your courage in the Port of Crabs with the ultimate challenge. Your starting skill is calculated by rolling 1d6 plus 4, thus making you weaker. You also start the adventure with only 14 gold pieces. You still receive unlimited bookmarks. Play Bloodbones like an old school cheater. In free read mode, you roll your character exactly the same way you would in adventure, but you are given 3 extra options to help easily negotiate your way through the book. Rewind, free choice, and heal. These are access to the adventurer sheet. You may use all 3 of these buttons anytime during your adventure except combat. You may only use the heal button. Rewind, you move backwards. Free choice, all links, whether they're available. Fully heal yourself. Which difficulty do you choose? Ooh. You know what? Before we really get started, I'm just gonna take a really quick. Oh wait, I'm recording. Never mind. False alarm. We'll go to adventure. You've chosen the adventurer difficulty mode. Before continuing, you must calculate your initial stamina. Your stamina score reflects your general constitution, your will to survive, your determination, and overall fitness. The higher your stamina score, the longer you will be able to survive. You must roll 2 dice and add 12. This is then entered in the stamina box on your adventure sheet. Stamina will go up and down during your journey, but if your stamina falls to 0, you die and your adventure is over. If your stamina is getting low, remember to eat some of your provisions. Ooh, daddy like. And hell yeah. Your skill reflects your swordsmanship and general fighting expertise. The higher the better. Your starting skill is determined by rolling 1 die and adding 6 to the number. This is then entered in the skill box on your adventure sheet. Your adventure sheet can be accessed at any time using the menu at the bottom of the screen. Let's go! Can I reroll? No. Yeah. Your luck score indicates how naturally lucky a person you are. Luck and magic are facts of life in the fantasy world you are about to explore. Your starting luck is determined by rolling 1 die and adding 6 to the number. This is then entered in the luck box on your adventure sheet. Roll your starting luck. Ooh, 10 is pretty good. Next, determine your starting number of gold pieces. A million. Not bad. Begin your adventure with a sword, backpack, tinderbox, gold pieces, and a lantern to light your way. Rationing your provisions is key to a successful adventure. They may be consumed at any time, excluding combat, by accessing the adventure sheet. Each meal restores 4 stamina. Be sure to pay close attention to your stamina and restore it regularly. In Bloodbones, you begin your journey with no provisions, regardless of your chosen difficulty level. During your quest, you may encounter characters and items that alter your 3 scores. Usually these scores may only ever be restored to their initial amount. On very rare occasions, a particular page may grant an effect that defies this rule. Aside from these occasions, some magical items may also allow you to exceed your initial scores. There's one more thing you should know. During your adventure, you will notice that hours will pass at key points, usually when you've been doing something for a considerable length of time. This is very important, as will become apparent as your adventure progresses. Try not to allow too many hours to pass. Oh shoot, okay, onward. It all started 10 years ago, when the evil pirate Lord Cinnabar murdered your family. At the time, you were only 12 years old and lived with your family in the small fishing village of Clam Beach, on the northern coast of Ruddlestone, halfway between the two major ports of the kingdom. Marabnob, home to all lawful adventurers and sailors, and the sinister port of Crabs. Life in Clam Beach was not easy, but it did have a peaceful security about it. And then, the terrible day came. It was a clear summer day in Warning, when the huge, forbidding black galleon sailed into the bay, flying the dreaded flag of the Skull and Crossbones. Pirates. The bloodthirsty cutthroats were soon racing up the beach towards the village. The fighting was swift and bloody. Soon, most of the grown folk of Clam Beach had been killed, your father and two siblings dying while trying to defend the village. In the end, the village elders had no choice but to surrender to the marauding raiders and open the village's meager treasure coffers. The cruel pirate captain came ashore from his ship to collect the booty himself. The sight of him filled you with awe and fear. The pirate was a tall, handsome man with a neatly trimmed, pointed black beard, and his hair tied back in a ponytail. He was dressed in the clothes of a nobleman, with a fine scarlet coat, trimmed with a gold braid, and wearing a large tricorn hat at his waist hung a gleaming cutlass. You could not help noticing that on the back of his right hand was tattooed the image of a grinning black skull. When the raiders had finally gone, filled with feelings of hatred for those who had murdered your family, you asked Ragui, the village soothsayer, who the pirate captain was. That villain is one of the most evil men ever to sail the 12 seas of Titan, was his vehement reply. He is one of the most feared pirate lords of our age, a creature without remorse, murderer, and a follower of the bloodthirsty voodoo death god Kaskari, whose mark is the Black Skull. He is Cinnabar, but because of the terrible atrocities he commits, he is also known as Bloodbones. From that moment, you vowed that one day you would have your revenge on the evil Cinnabar. Your mother became ill soon after that dreadful day, and 3 years later she died. 3 years of sickness. On your 16th birthday, you left Clam Beach and made your way to Harabnab, gaining the position of cabin boy on a ship traveling to the distant continent of Alancia. For the last 6 years, you have sailed all across the globe. You never forgot the promise you made to yourself 10 years ago. For many voyages, you have tried to learn as much as you can about the rogue captain. Discovered that Cinnabar's galleon, the Virago, is frequently seen sailing in the waters around Nankunu Bay, and that he has a hidden base somewhere close to the port of Crabs. You also gleaned as much information as you could about the notorious city, and so, when you decided that you were at last ready to confront your enemy and the chance of passage on a merchant ship sailing to the port of Crabs came up, decided that you were at last ready to confront your enemy and the chance of passage on a merchant ship sailing to the port of Crabs came up, you leapt at the opportunity. Vengeance, you are sure, will soon be yours. The port of Crabs is haven to every pirate, buccaneer, and freebooter who ply their trade off the coast of the kingdom of Ruddlestone in the old world. As you stand at the prow of the merchantman, looking towards the land, you can make out the ramshackle jumble of buildings of the infamous city, and the outline of the old fort that stands above it like some ancient, crumbling sentinel. The merchantman bumps against the stone jetty, and you quickly disembark. Not only is the Port of Crabs one of the most dangerous cities in the world, A thick fog is starting to roll in from the sea. It is late afternoon on a chilly day in the month of unlocking, and the doors are bustling with activity. Standing close to the quayside is a large old stone building which looks like it could withstand a battering from Haidana, god of the deep himself. Hanging over its sturdy oak door is a faded sign declaring that this is the Jolly Roger. It seems as good a place as any to begin your search for Cinnabar. So you enter the inn. Spacious bar inside the Jolly Roger is packed with all manner of scurvy-looking sailors and other lowlifes. The landlord is as big as an ox and has a large anchor tattooed on one arm. No one takes any notice of you as you enter, so you approach the bar and order a tankard of ale, costing 1 gold piece. Well, you decide to question the landlord about Cinnabar first. Over your tankard of ale, you talk about the weather and the state of trade, and then draw the innkeeper onto the subject of the pirate you see. I hear the Virago plies these waters, you say. I'm surprised we weren't attacked ourselves. Not anymore, it doesn't, the landlord replies. Have you not heard? Cinnabar's been dead these last 6 months. Cinnabar dead? You've come all this way after years of harboring desires for revenge, only to find that the dread Pirate Lord has already passed from this world. You ask the landlord how he died. Have you not heard? I would have thought that everyone as far as the Diamond Islands would know by now. It all happened last hiding. You listen attentively as the innkeeper relates the tale. It appears that Cinnabar and his crew were emptying the hold of a galley sailing from Harabnab to Arkleton, in distant Analand, when the renowned bounty hunter Conan caught up with them in his ship, the Fortune. Unable to escape, Cinnabar and his men had to defend themselves against the crews of the galley and Conan. Fierce fighting ensued, with Cinnabar eventually falling at Conan's hand, having suffered an incredible number of wounds, his body being lost to the sea. Their leader killed, the surviving members of his crew fled aboard the Virago, returning to the port of Crabs. Soon after, Cinnabar's second-in-command, Muriel the Red, set off in the Virago amid terrible storms, reportedly to recover her captain's body. Many now believe that the Pirate Lord's galleon sank, as he has not been seen since. The landlord says, concluding his story. You thank him for his help, and in a bewildered daze you make to leave the inn. You console yourself with the thought that at least the murderer of your family has at least been brought to justice. As you leave the Jolly Roger, you feel someone pulling on your jerkin. Turning around, you discover that an old drunk, slumped at a table by himself, is the one trying to attract your attention. Yeah, just because he's dead doesn't mean he's at rest, mutters the drunk. Curious about the drunk's words, you sit down opposite the old man and ask him what he means. Yeah, let's just say you don't want to go believing everything you hear, but I know what's going on. Oh, yes, old Dreg knows. Cinnabar isn't really dead, see, and he's coming back. The old man says in a harsh whisper. Intrigued, you press Dreg to tell you more, but he suddenly becomes serious and looks around the bar room. Let's just say you don't want to go believing everything you hear, but I know what's going on. Oh yes, old Dreg knows. Cinnabar isn't really dead, see, and he's coming back. Not here. Meet me outside in 10 minutes. You nod in agreement and leave the Jolly Roger. tendrils of fog are now swirling around the boats in the harbor and oozing along the streets of the town. When the 10 minutes are up, you quickly return to the Jolly Roger and sneak down the side alley next to it. In the mist and shadows at the end of the narrow alleyway, you can make out 3 figures standing over a 4th, cowering on the ground at their feet. Wasting no time, you draw your sword and dash towards them. Hearing you approach, the 3 pirates turn to face you. Burly characters are ugly, scarred rogues, and the biggest of them, who is easily wielding a heavy wooden club in one hand, and holding a bullwhip in the other, looks as if he has some ogre blood in his lineage. At the pirate's feet lies Dreg, beaten, bruised, and only just conscious.
Here's the snooper,
Growls the half-ogre.
You're no match for us. By the time we finish with you, you'll be feeding the shrimps. Or rather, the shrimps will be feeding on you.
The 2 other pirates burst into coarse laughter at the companion's joke. Yeah, you're fish bait. Still laughing, the ruffians advance towards you. Apart from the half-ogre, there is a well-built, bearded man missing most of his teeth, and a leaner rogue with 2 ugly red scars running down the right-hand side of his face. You may be about to engage in your first fighting fantasy battle. Would you like to know more about how combat works? No, we roll dice and that's it. How will we deal with the ruffians stepping menacingly towards me? It's 3-on-1. I might not ever. I don't think I should charge him. Just stand here and fight. See what happens. Okay. Ooh. Harsh. Harsh. Let's go. Nice. More hit. Come on. Get that hit. Yeah. Oh, we got it. We got him. Frick. I don't know, man. Let's do it. We're feeling pumped. Who cares if he's got a whip and a club? Let's do it. That wasn't good. Gotta do some luck. Oh. Shoot. More, please. Got it this time. Okay, now we got it. I need the luck now to win. Wow. This is really bad. This is really bad. This is really bad. Come on, guys. How do I lose every luck roll? What? Oh my goodness. Thank goodness. The last of the pirates falls, and with some relief you sheath your sword. It looks as if the pirates have beaten Dreg within an inch of his life, and he is failing fast. You do your best to make the old man comfortable, and he opens his eyes. Thanks, stranger. I'm a goner now. I'm up to something, you know. You ask him what he's talking about. Cinnabar's crew, the Pirates of the Black Skull. Looking at the hands of Dreg's assailants, you see that each bears the tattoo of a grinning black skull. I've seen them meeting up again around the taverns in the city. Silas Gallows, Keelhaul Jack, Old Crivens, even Malu the Witch Doctor. They're planning something, alright. Rumor says Mill the Red found Cinnabar's body, and that he is not rightly dead, but he's not rightly alive either, see? It's all that voodoo and black magic they meddle in. Not right, it isn't. I've heard tell that they're planning something big tonight. I think old Snide and the guard would be looking into it. Truth be told, no one's been able to locate their hideout. Greg coughs weakly. He's coming back. We'll all be doomed, stranger. Beware the black skull. Bloodbones is coming back. And then he's gone. Laying the old man down, you ponder his last words and what your next action should be. So Cinnabar is not really dead. In that case, you may still have a chance for revenge. But what did Dreg mean when he said that Cinnabar is not really alive either? Dreg has given you several clues about your enemy and where you should start your search for him. And it seems that time is of the essence if you want to stop the pirates of the Black Skull. The old man mentioned that the pirates of the Black Skull were gathering again in the port of Crabs, so they may have a hidden base somewhere in the city. But of course, at present, you have no idea where it may be. Before leaving Dreg, you search the bodies of assailants for any further clues. You find nothing helpful, but you do discover that one was carrying a bottle of rum. Drinking the rum will restore 4 stamina points. You now have 6 options available to you. You could visit some of the taverns and inns, yourself in the hopes of finding out more. Perhaps you could visit the notorious gambling pits, a possible source of information and a way of increasing your gold pieces. Alternatively, it might be a better idea to equip yourself by visiting the markets before you set out on your quest. You could try to find out more about the Black Skull and the cult of Iskari. Then again, although Governor Montargo has certainly allowed the port to remain safe, haven for buccaneers or freebooters, you may do well to get the help of the authorities against Cinnabar, or you can take the direct approach, abandon your search for further information, and instead look for the pirates' hidden base. Let me go fucking outfit myself. Practical equipment, dude. What did I have? Like 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. You are enticed towards the bazaar by its colorful stalls as well as the sounds and smells of far countries. You ignore the rolls of silk and the baskets of spices, and are attracted to a brightly decorated stall covered in a variety of unusual items. Talking with the vendor, you discover that the man is a talismonger, a trader in artifacts that are allegedly magical. However, by the look of some of the objects, you do wonder if they really are charged with esoteric power. The magical items the talismonger has on offer are listed below with their prices. You may buy as many of them as you want, as long as you have enough gold pieces. How many do you still have? 5. I can't get the magical compass, huh? I guess, yeah, sure. Whatever, I can't get anything else anyway. Unless there was another page. Gosh darn it. No, I don't have any more money. As you leave, you note 1 hour has passed. As you're walking along Trader Street, you cannot help but notice a roguish figure standing on the corner of Lobster Alley. The man is gaunt and scrawny in his later years, and with several days' growth of stubble. He also has an eye patch, a wooden stump for a leg. Beneath his right knee, and wears a long coat and a tricorn hat. monkey with its own tiny waistcoat is scampering around the man's shoulders. As you walk past the pirate, you make eye contact, and he beckons to you with a glance before turning and hobbling away up the alley. Go and follow him, because it's definitely a trap. Continue to follow the pirate. Well, they got us. You come to tied to a stone altar before a hideous bony likeness of the voodoo death god Keskari. You only just have time to take in the fact that you're in a large underground chamber packed with pirates and devotees before a black-robed priest plunges his sacrificial knife into your heart. Your very blood shall be used to help bring your enemy back to life. Oh my gosh. God. Can't believe it. God. That ogre fight took a lot out of me, but also I don't know what I was thinking, man. You never follow somebody down an alley like that. That's just so dumb. I just went to the merchant too, and I bought all my. Well, you know, honestly, that's probably for the better because now this gives you guys a reason to go and buy it or play it, and maybe pay money to play the other games, like Freeway Fighter. What is this? It's different. I have to buy it. Yeah, well, I'm not gonna be buying anything right now. But yeah, if you like this, definitely take a look. Fighting Fantasy. I mean, it's as famous as Dungeons and Dragons. It's right up there. The original story that started it all. I might come back and try it again. That was definitely interesting. I would be really intrigued to see what was in store. And yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff if you want. And see you next time. Bye-bye.